Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Brittany. Please like and subscribe. If you're new here, welcome. I make bookish content. Today we're going to be doing a reading wrap up of all the books that I read in September. I didn't get to all the books on my TBR as usual, but I read 3 books that were on my TBR out of the 6 that were on there. And I read 1 book that was not on my TBR. So let's get into them. First book that I read was Zodiac Academy. I've been wanting to read this book for a while. I've heard such great things about this book series. I mean, I've heard that it's not the best writing, but that like the characters and the stories and drama are so good. It's a supernatural academy setting. It follows Tori and Darcy, who think that they're mortals. They're in the mortal world, and then they get brought to the supernatural academy and told that they are heirs to a fae throne. And so this first book is them just, you know, going to the academy. They have like different magic classes. It reminds me kind of like of Harry Potter, and it's fun because you're learning about all the supernatural world with them. I rated this book 3.5 stars. A lot of times the first book in the series isn't always the best, and I think it's going to get even better the more into it I get. It was entertaining. I liked learning about different supernatural beings, and I like the academy setting. It's just I'm not really into many of the other characters except for Darcy and Tori, because they were all just bullying Tori and Darcy the whole time, and so I don't know, I'm just not that into it yet. The next book that I read was Bride by Ali Hazelwood. This is Ali Hazelwood's first like shot at writing like a fantasy. If you don't know, she's a romance author. I read Problematic Summer Romance by her in August before I read this book, and I enjoy Ali Hazelwood. I will say that I feel like her books are usually a slow burn for me, meaning that it takes me a second to get into them. Second half of the book, it picks up and gets really good. And she's really good at building like sexual tension in her books. Misery is the female main character and Lo is the male main character. Misery is a vampire, Lo is a werewolf, and it's a marriage to convenience. They are getting married basically to form alliance between the vampires and the werewolves. And this book was fun. It doesn't take itself too seriously. I would not call it like a true fantasy book. It's mainly a romance with a fantasy twist, a fantasy spin. But I really enjoyed it. It has an interesting, funny thing that happens in this book called nodding, but I'm not going to give it away. You'll find out if you read this book. But there's actually, the second book is coming out this month in October, so I probably not going to get to it this month because I already did my October TBR and I have a lot of books that I have to read, but I am interested in reading the second one. It's going to be about a different set of characters in this book than this book follows, but I'm sure that these characters will be in it as well. I rated it 3.5 stars. Wasn't the best book I've ever read, but it was entertaining and I liked it. And the third book that I read that was on my TBR, which is my favorite book that I read, City of Gods and Monsters. This book was so freaking good. It's a supernatural book. It is a urban fantasy. It has a ton of different supernatural creatures and creatures that I've never even heard of before. Like, I don't even know if she invented them or if they're actually based on real fantasy creatures. But this follows Darien Castle. Oh, I loved Darien Castle. He is just like, the banter in this book is so good. I did a reading vlog if you're interested in watching it, where I read this book and talk more about it. But basically Lauren is a mortal living in a supernatural world, because there are humans in this world, but the supernatural creatures are just like out in the open. They're not like hidden trying to hide from the humans. Like, they exist it's a city full of them, supernatural creatures, and the humans are like, they're like discriminated against basically because they have no powers and they're weak. Darien Castle is basically like a bounty hunter, is how I would describe him, like a supernatural bounty hunter. And he actually has something called the Sight, where he can see auras and track people down based on their auras. So he is put in charge of tracking Lauren down, who's human. And when he sees that she is human, he's like, why am I tracking down a human? Like, nobody cares about humans. Why am I being hired and paid a ton of money to kill this girl or find this girl? So it's about that, and you know, it's about their relationship, and it's so cute. Like, they have the cutest freaking banter. It's hilarious. I loved it and I ate it up. I will say that I felt like the ending was a little bit rushed, and like suddenly a bunch of stuff was happening all at the very end of the book, and I was like, well dang, there's a lot of stuff going on, but it was still really good. It was just got a little bit hard to follow up for me at the end personally. There's a lot of characters in this book, and there's like a mystery going on, and so at the end it was a little bit hard for me to follow. I'm like, wait, who is that again? But I rated this 4.5 stars. This would have been a 5-star book if it wasn't for like the ending being like a little bit too much, like a little bit too fast paced and intense. The last book that I read in September, which was not actually on my TBR, was Surrogate, or The Surrogate, one of the two, by Frida McFadden. I haven't read one of Frida McFadden's books in a while. I think this is one of her newest releases, and let me tell you, I enjoyed it immensely. Like, I could not stop reading it. I binged it in like 2 days, and I really missed reading thrillers. I got back into reading initially with thrillers, but I kind of took a pause on the genre for a while because I've been reading fantasy and romance, and so this is the first thriller I've read in a while, but I really enjoyed it, and I was super in the mood to read a thriller, and I just feel like it's the perfect thing to read in spooky months. I ate it up. I loved it. Honestly, I rate it 5 stars because I just had such a good time and I could not stop reading it. Like, I literally kept like staying up late and being like, I'm gonna read just one more chapter, and then I just kept reading more and more and more. It was just really entertaining and such a good time. I don't want to give anything away, but basically, you know, the main characters are trying to get a surrogate because she's infertile and shit gets weird. That's all I want to say. I would say maybe it's a little bit triggering for some people that are struggling with infertility, but other than that, I ate it up. It was super good, fun time, and I wouldn't say like the twist was super shocking. I definitely went into it like not trusting anyone. I'm like, I do not trust this person, I do not trust this person. It could be anybody because I know that something is going to go down. But it was super good time and so addicting, so bingeable. So I highly recommend it, especially for this spooky season. The other books that I did not get to that were on my TBR for the month were A Love Letter to Whiskey, but this is on my October TBR, so I will be reading this. This is a angsty toxic romance, so I'm excited to read this. Since I read so many fantasy books this month and not really too many like romance books, I'm excited to pick up our contemporary romance this month. And then Vampire Diaries I also did not get to. However, I did listen to the audiobooks. I started listening to Stefan's Diaries, which is different than the Vampire Diaries. It kind of is just like what happened back when he first, like when he was human and how he became a vampire. And I started to listen to that on audiobook and I was enjoying it at first, but then like, if a narrator is just not the voice that you want to listen to, it is hard for me to get into the audiobook. And he just had like the worst freaking accent. I just couldn't deal with it. And then I tried to listen to The Vampire Diaries, this actual audiobook, and it was okay because it was like narrated by a woman, but then whenever she would do a voice for like Stefan, her voice was super weird, just like that, like doing a weird vampire accent. And I'm like, that's not how they sound in the TV show. They just sound like regular people. They don't have a weird vampire accent. So I couldn't get into it. See in October if I'll let you know if it's good or not. And I feel like there was one more on my TBR, but it was The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. This has been my TBR for like the last 2 months and I still have not gotten to it. But now that it's like entering spooky season, I'm not in the mood to read like just a regular contemporary romance. I'm like in my fantasy kind of spooky season books, and so we're just putting her on the back burner for a little bit. But I definitely want to read that book because I know people love it and I have been enjoying Ali Hazelwood's writing, so definitely get into that one eventually. But I want to update the books that I've read for the year. Before September, I had read 41 books. Now I just read 4 more books in September, so we need to update this. We can update this to 45 books. My goal for the year was 50 books, so I think we're definitely going to reach that goal. We're gonna go over the goal, so that's exciting. But yeah, thank you for watching this video. If you are interested, check out my reading vlog where I read 3 of the books that were on my TBR. And I will see you next week. Thanks for watching.